Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Art of Braid podcast. I am your host, Karen Tenord, and I'm excited about today's guest. We're talking about a topic I hear about all the time: how to work smarter and not harder. And today's guest is Khalilah Webster, founder of the amazing brand Vanguarde Consulting Group. And since today's topic is about how to work smarter and not harder, who better to talk about it? I remember back in the days starting a nonprofit. I'm doing 1,000 things. I'm by myself, like I'm just wearing different hats, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm proud. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. And I got burnt out really quick. Everybody would ask me, like, oh, how are you doing this? And then they would ask for help. And I'm like, while I'm doing all this for myself, I'm also helping other people. And I used to be like, yo, I need I need help. And then again, starting with the nonprofit, I was going into schools working for free, basically. Like I was putting on programs, teaching parents, all of this stuff, going into shelters, and not knowing all this stuff was coming out of pocket. I was just like, I'm doing it from you know, the bottom of my heart, just doing stuff because I felt like I needed to do it. I didn't know there was a smarter way to do it. I just was like, I gotta do it. Um, and then I met Khalilah and I was just like, wow, like this is how it's done. So a lot of that stuff is like 13 years of working in the nonprofit sector and not knowing you could actually do this and pay yourself or whatever. Like I just literally thought, okay, we're gonna always be volunteer based. And it's just like, oh no, you don't have to do that. Or even in career for myself, like I didn't think about teaching what I do and going into schools. Never thought about that. That was just like, no. Um, so I won't make y'all wait any longer. Let's welcome Khalilah. Khalilah, thank you so much for joining us today. And your time and your brand is important to us. I know you got a lot going on. So I'm like, your time is especially important to us. Before we get started, I know you, but my listeners don't know you. They don't know your story, and we all have a story. So I'd love for you to share your background and what it is you do in your work or your business.
Well, first of all, thank you very, very much, Karen, for having me on today. I appreciate your journey and your sacrifice and dedication that you have for your business. I think for me, I get joy out of hearing and talking to women like you who have started their business, that's on a journey, on this trajectory to success, right? To creating their own destiny, right? Putting in the work. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share my expertise, but I'm also excited to share my story. My story started a long time ago. I'm not going to put the number out there, but it's a while back when I decided that I wanted to quit my job and to start my business. And it was a very scary time because I didn't have a lot of support because people didn't understand what that looked like. I started my business 20 I started my first business 21 years ago. And I had a lot of people who stared at me and looked at me and looked like, as they were looking at like someone who had three heads on their shoulders, questioning whether or not this was something I should be doing. I had a lot of friends at the time. They were working at record labels, working at TV studios, networks, and they were doing great things. And I here wanted to start a business. Didn't have any experience, didn't even have the money to really start it, but I had a dream, I had a vision, and I had a business partner at the time, one of my best friends, still my best friend, one of my best friends today. Shout out to Tiffany Walker. And
Okay.
we decided to start our first business. And it was difficult because I always tell people when you go on an entrepreneurship journey, it's very lonely at times because sometimes you don't have people who understand what that journey looks like. right? And so you're out there and you're trying to figure things out. But one thing I decided to do, my first business that I had, I was just, to be honest with you, I was winging it. Our business stayed. I had a performing arts center. So one might ask, like, what was the business? I had a performing arts center. My background is in the performing arts. I studied theater. I studied musical theater for, woo,
Hmm.
for about 8 years. 8 years. I did like off-Broadway plays. I did a lot of modeling, directing, and that's my passion. The arts is always going to be my passion. But I found that I am really good at creating creating something out of nothing, right?
Hmm.
And I think that that's what an entrepreneur is about.
Yes.
We're problem solvers, right? We're problem solvers, and we like to create just as much as the next person. So I had started my first business, started it in 2003, and then I had to close down that same business in 2009. And that was because of the first pandemic that we had, which was the banking crisis of
Hmm.
2008, 2009, which a lot of people were losing their homes, they were losing their jobs. And because of that, they could not afford to have their children in extracurricular activities. So which put a financial stress on my business. And we were, an extracurricular activity for kids. We had a performing arts center where we were teaching dance and we were teaching acting,
Hmm.
and modeling to young people in East New York, Brownsville, and Canarsie, which was the areas that we were from, myself and my business partner. And so, and from that day, I'm gonna pass the ball back over to you. But
Hmm.
after I closed that business in 2009, I had a successful run for those 6 years. But once I closed down that business, I learned two things. I learned one, I am going to work smarter and not harder, right? I made a promise to myself. And the second thing that I learned is that it's okay to fail. So,
This is true. You learn with the failures.
yes.
And it's so funny. This is a side note. You closed your business in 2009, and I started my nonprofit that was similar in 2010.
Mm,
Like, yeah, like it was to provide, it's called Your Destiny Treasure Chest, but it was to provide clothes for children in need. And then it turned into a fit for fashion program, and we was teaching kids how to model and how to design and public speak. Like it was just all of that,
mhm,
but I was doing it in shelters and in schools, and I just was doing it as volunteer based. So
mhm.
it was just so funny that he was like in 2009. I'm like, that was literally.
That's crazy. I did not know that you did that.
Yes, yes. It's the earthquake in Haiti. Like once that happened,
Mhm,
like I quit my 5-year job at Kingsborough Psych. So I was working at a psychiatric hospital for about 5 years, and then I just quit to start the nonprofit and give back. So
mhm.
that was like my journey, and I was like, why did I do that? Did not That was not smart. But it was still something that I was convicted to do. But yeah, so we'll go back. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I didn't know about the first business that you started either. Like, and you do grow and you learn through failing. I don't
Yeah.
always consider that even a failure.
Well,
Like,
I don't consider it. So failure for me is not a bad thing. I think the word failure has this connotation towards it as a negative. For me, failure just it like you said, it was a learning experience. And to understand that I failed, meaning like I didn't meet up to the standards that I had for that particular business. So there's a book that is called, and I forgot the author, but it's called Failing Forward.
mm,
And that's what we do anytime you fail at something, or you did not, or you missed the mark, I would say you missed the mark, it's not a negative thing. It is something that is positive, because it teaches you lessons that you would have never learned if you did not make those mistakes, right? But guess what? The reason why the book is called Failing Forward, because if you haven't made those mistakes, you wouldn't know what you would need to do to course correct, right? And once you do the course correcting, then now your only option is to go forward. And as you're going forward, you're entering into a new beginning. It's a new revelation of what it means to be in business. And so that's why failing for me, it was like, okay, I failed because I missed the mark. There's certain messages and lessons that I did not know that I know now. Okay. I don't sit in that failure. I don't sit in that, in that
disappointment.
In that disappointment and that mindset. What I do is I start dissecting, and I start evaluating what went wrong in that business. And now I know what to do moving forward, which will help me set me up for success. So
Amen.
That's how
there you go. There you go. I think just like that.
Mhm.
As I'm going throughout the years, even meeting you, I was just like, wait, what? Okay, let me get this. Okay, so let's get into the topic at hand, which is work smarter and not harder. What is your definition of working smarter and not harder? A simple definition. It doesn't have to be elaborate.
Well, for me, it's definitely not going to be elaborate. I'm very simple, when it comes to just thinking about things. So for me, working smarter is all about it's all about getting to that final outcome smoothly. Okay. And what does that mean? Right. And so I never want to, working smarter is using other people's money.
Okay.
Get the job done. Point blank. And so one may ask, well, what does that mean? Like using other people's money? Well, one is that in my first business, we were bootstrapping. What does that mean? That means like we were using all of our money. Had family members that were giving us money, and we were just bootstrapping. Like we were down to the pennies, and whatever we can do, we can do. We didn't have a consistent cash flow of money that was coming in. So we had to script and scram around to try to find money to keep things moving and going. What I've learned is that in order to work smarter, I have to find other people who are looking to invest in my business or to give to my business so that I can move things forward. So what that may look like a loan, that may look like a line of credit, that may look like an investor, that may look like a grant, that may look like funding from a bank. So there's different ways that you can use other people's money without using your own personal money. But do you need your own personal money? You should have some money. But when that money starts running out, what do you need to do? You need to start looking for other means of income so that that can help support your business. That's smart, and that's not hard, because when you have other people's money, yes, you do have certain expectations that come along with having other people's money, but it also gives you the flexibility to actually start your business and get things moving and shaking the way you need to do. If you are bootstrapping, which means you are working extra hard to get that money, whatever money comes in, you got to use it and you got to figure it out. That puts a toll on you, that puts
mentally.
a toll, mentally, physically and emotionally.
Yes.
So that's the best way to go about. So that's one way when it means to working, for me, working smarter. But also working smarter is by putting systems and automation is really important. And so creating a system for your business that's going to, how it's going to operate, how it's going to run. You want to create a system that is very smooth, and that is easy. So you're not the only person that can do the job. You want
Amen.
to, right. You want to be able to create a blueprint and a framework so that if you're not around, you can train someone to do the work that you need done, and you feel confident that they understand what the mission is, what the methodology is, and that they can do the job like you. So that's what I mean by system. Automation means that you need things to kind of happen really fast. So creating something that's easy, seamless, seamless and systematic, where it can, so if you need people that can like order stuff, creating like an e-commerce, things of that nature, you're not literally, they don't have to literally come in to your physical store to make a purchase. That's what I mean by automation, making sure that people can kind of purchase, buy, get anything of yours without you physically being there. That's working smarter as well.
Yeah, that's definitely working smarter. Like, whew, okay, so that was 3 different ways,
I know.
right? Which is good. Other people's money, putting systems in place and being automatic. Like, as a braider, no one's thinking about that, right? Like, my listeners are going to be braiders or inspiring braiders. It's like, okay, this is the business behind braiding. You are more than a braider. Like, there's so much more that you can do from it and make a business out of it. And working smarter is great because we're on our feet, or we're working with our hands all day. We don't have time to be physically making transactions.
Right.
And doing social media and all that extra stuff. Like, there are certain things that you can automate, which is schedules, right? With social media and things like that, or email scheduling, all of
Email,
that.
all
Yes.
that. Mm-hmm. It's
So
good.
it is. Okay, so what is one example of what I feel like that you just thing. So I'm gonna just say it. What is one example of working smarter, and how did it help you succeed in having a healthy work-life balance?
Hmm. So yeah, work-life balance is interesting. That's an interesting conversation.
Why?
Because to be honest with you, as an entrepreneur, I'm not gonna shy away. I'm 42 years old, and I've been in business. I've been in business literally since I was 22. So I've been an entrepreneur since I was 22. My work life balance looks different at every stage and age of your life. So I can't, I sometimes I kind of cringe when I hear other business people talk about like, oh, this, you got to have a work life balance and this is how you have to have it. But it looks different at different ages and stages of your life. When I was in my 20s, I didn't have any kids and I started my business. I can run around circles around people, around things. I was at this event, I was here, I was there, I was there. I was doing it, right? Because I had the energy.
Right.
And then 2, I didn't have that much responsibility. I just had to be responsible for myself. And, and I had my business. I started my business when I was 22 years old. So that looked different. Then once I started having kids and I got married, I realized what was important to me. And having financial stability was very important. Was my business at the time giving me financial stability? No, not my first business. My first business was a passion. I would want to say it was a passion project. I loved the arts. My business partner, she loved the arts, and we loved young people, but we weren't doing it to be multimillionaires. In our minds, we thought we were going to be, but the way we were doing it, it was no way we were going to make no way, you know? So that was the reason why I had to make certain changes and shifts, because I was now in a new stage and phase in my life. And the things that I used to do in my business from the beginning, I couldn't do it in the next stage. And I had to try to find the balance of having a new family, knowing that money is crucial at the time. We needed money and we weren't really making that much money. So I had to kind of pivot. I had to start thinking and rethinking and trying to figure out what do I really want in at this juncture of my life. Then as I started my new business with my husband, I closed down my first business. I got into a new business with my husband, and those are the current businesses that we have and we run today. I started to learn, what does it look like to work smarter? What is it that we need to have in place? How do we go after funding in a real way so that we can have sustainability and so that we can provide for our growing family? You understand what I'm saying? What kind of multiple streams do we have to have? That was different. So the hustle and the grind was very real, but yet I had kids. So I felt burnt out. I felt stretched out for a while. In my 30s, I was like, oh my God, I got to do it. Was a lot. It was a lot. Now I've been able to pull back and truly look at what matters, what really, really matters in my life, right? And so I'm still on the stability side of things, but now I'm taking it a notch now I'm thinking about longevity. I'm thinking about legacy. I'm thinking about additional generational wealth. I'm thinking different. So the work-life balance it hasn't changed much, but I'm realizing that one, self-care is important. Number one, self-care. I think within the last 3 years, I'm slowly understanding what self-care really looks like. Because when you're in your 20s and 30s, back in when I was in my 20s, like self-care wasn't popping the way it's popping now. No. Everyone is talking about, self-care, socially emotional, and, in there and meditating, yoga, skincare, all these stuff. That it wasn't like that in my 20s. Everyone was hustling and grinding and trying to figure things out. But I think now, because mental health is so important, that we are taking a step back and we are reevaluating and reassessing our lives and seeing and finding out what's important, what truly matters, right? Yeah. My family matters, my health matters, my peace matters.
That part.
That part.
Yeah. So I see how it definitely differs from different people when it comes to work-life balance. And with you saying, coming from singlehood and no kids, and then now married with kids, those priorities do change. And as you get older too, it's okay, I'm not going to be doing all of that. I'm not doing that.
You're really not. I'm seeing myself in my 50s. I'm looking at that and what that would look like. And I'm like, listen, I want to have no parts. I want to be retired on the beach, living my best life and chilling out, relaxing, and not having to do all the day-to-day things. People always ask me, well, what is it like to be 42 and married with kids? And I'm like, it is what it is. There's so many different moving parts. And the first part is accepting everything that's going on in your life and understanding, okay, I'm in a season of my life and this too shall pass. So what I tell people when it comes to the work-life balance, don't feel like you have to have it all together, and don't look at somebody else's life and compare and say, well, I should be at this level, I should be doing it like that. Their life and their situation is totally different than yours. Focus on what it is that you have in front of you and make sure you prioritize and organize it the best way you know how, the best way that works for you. Period.
All right. Well, what are some ways that you can delegate work or outsource work? Because we're talking about, you're not doing the work. So what's happening?
So what's happening is building a team. And, I'm big on team. I'm a person that thrives on community, and I thrive on, building like an amazing team of individual people that come together to work on one major, project that really kills it, right? Like I love that, right? I'm like, I tell my business partner, who's my husband, he works in silo. Like he's great as an independent worker by himself, right? Me, I'm like, I love ensembles. I take it back to my theater days. I love working with groups. So I always stress, if you want to work smarter, build a really great team, build a great support system that is going to be around you. So I always say there is the inner circle, then there's the outer circle, and then there's the outer circle of that. There's different layers of circles of connectivity when it comes to people. And everyone has their place. You have your inner circle, where is you have your people that you confided, people where you can go to and say, hey, I just need a shoulder to cry on. I need you just to hear me out. I just need a vent. I just need a laugh. You have those individuals, and they're part of your team, even though they're not working for you in your business. They're a part of your team because they support an aspect of you that maybe the people that work for you, they don't support that part. There's a difference, right? Okay? So you have that inner circle. That could be family members, that can be your closest, bestest friend that know you since you were like in the second grade. Then you have the outer circle of influence of people that's around you. And those people I will call, are your mentors, or individuals that are in your life that are brought into your life to deposit wisdom and knowledge. You may not go to them for a shoulder to cry on, because they may be in that circle where, they're very professional. So,
Right.
they don't need all of that, right? But they're there to support you when it comes to big thinking, big picturing, and trying to get you back on track and say, listen, you got this business, you're supposed to be doing A, B, and C, and D. They hold you accountable, right? Right. So that's that circle. That's a part of your team. Then you have the outer circle. That team, those individuals are maybe people that if you own a business, that team is the team that works. I always say work with me, but because as an entrepreneur, as a businesswoman, I believe everyone is my teammate. So I always say, you working with me, you're not working for me. I don't like that working for me. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
You working with me. So I say, hey, this is so-and-so, they work with me. And those individuals, they're there to support the aspect of maybe your business, and all of those different components when it comes to taking your business to the next level. They can be an accountant, they can be a teaching artist, they can be your graphic designer, they can be another braider, it can be any aspect of that. So you have to build your team. You got to build your inner layer, your outer, and the outside. And these are different layers of influence in your life. And that helps you and supports you and keeps everything moving. And so when I talk about building a team, I'm very, very strong. I'm intentional about building a team. And I'm very strategic about building a team. One may ask, well, how do I build one team? How do I even get someone to work with me? Start out with having interns. There's a lot of young people, and I know I say this all the time, and people sometimes they roll their eyes. Oh my God, some people don't want to work, and I get it. However, you have those individuals that may be in college and they're going to need work experience, plain and simple. And what better way for them to work is to get work experience from you. You may not be able to pay them a full salary, but maybe you can pay for their transportation. Maybe you can pay for their lunch. Maybe you can give them a small stipend. At the end of the day, it's a learning experience for them, and it's a learning experience for you, because it's also teaching you how to manage other people that's working with you.
There you go.
You can't wake up and say, hey, I want to be, I want to have a big time multi-million dollar organization, and you can't manage your intern. Like, how? Houseway, how are we doing that?
This is true. This is true. I have two interns that I have had since November. And I'm like, it literally taught me how to create new systems so that way they can run without having to come to me for everything. And it also empowers them like, hey, we already went over this. Go ahead. If you make a mistake, we'll correct it. But it's just like, okay, when I do expand with like employees and full-time things, I already know what to expect, which is so dope. So yes.
No, it's true. It's true. And you'll start creating those systems and infrastructure for your business. Practice on the interns is the best way to do it.
Okay, so now do you have any favorite tools or resources that you've used to help you in your entrepreneur journey? I know you spoke about a few things going from the first business to now. Like what are some tools, maybe two or three tools that you have used?
Yeah, that I use that helps me work smarter, or just tools in general?
In general for your entrepreneur journey.
Yeah, some of the I think the tools for me are very relational. So I feel like you have like physical tools that people have, and I can talk about that as well. But I have relationships that I consider like really, really like I hold dear to my heart. And those have been like they've been like tools basically, because they've been able to kind of like help me navigate this journey as an entrepreneur. So they've probably been entrepreneurs themselves. They've been able to raise a certain amount of money. They're my mentors. So I think the number one tool for me is having a mentor, and the value of having a mentor in your life. It literally helps you just think about the bigger picture with your business, and not to think so small and just think like, oh my God, I'm the only one that's going through this. And you speak to your mentor, you're like, oh my God, you went through this as well. Okay. Well, how did you get over it? How did you get by? So that's one tool. Like I said, it's not a physical tool, but it is a relationship tool. Another tool for me, I think, is, as much as I love having people that work with me here in New York City, what I've been finding is that I love to actually reach out to overseas. And so there have been, because my business is focused on technology, education technology, we're building apps, we're building certain infrastructure. And sometimes it's cheaper to use people overseas to help you work on certain projects. People know what those tools are. You have like a Fiverr, right? Which you got that type of thing. But there's another company, and I don't get paid for this company. This company does not give me money, but it's called Upwork, and it's a really great tool. You'll get a chance to work with people overseas. They help you and support you when it comes to, let's say, if you're trying to build something. So I have a New York team here, but I also have an overseas team that we built over the course of a couple of years now, that have been working with our organization to help us with some of the technical support that we need. So I'm trying to make that transition where I can just have people here and train them. But a lot of people, they don't stick around too long,
Right.
I have two good people here that we've been able to train, to train on how to build an app, and what does that look like, how to edit, how to do this, how to do that. And they've been able to take on that role, and they've been able to do it. But when we can't find people that are willing to work in that capacity, we have to look elsewhere. So I don't always like to outsource, but I feel like that has been a really great tool. And if anyone is looking to do that, they have a lot of platforms where you can do it. You just got to be careful. You have to do your research. And you have to ask lots of questions when you're meeting different people overseas to work on projects for you. And that's important. And the last tool, because you said three, the last tool is like, again, it's not a physical tool. It's always relational. It's collaboration.
Exactly.
So that would be my third tool that I've been able to use, just to kind of help me in my business. I love collaborating with different people. Like I mentioned before, I'm an ensemble. I love working with people. So collaboration is like my first go-to, but I feel like there is power in collaboration. There is. Right. So yeah, that's
collaborating is good. Like from the first time I met you, I was just like, okay, how can we do something? How can we support what you're doing? So that it adds to what we're doing. Like, so definitely collaboration. I'm big on that. So before we wrap up, because I feel like this was nothing but great tools. We could have probably gone forever on so many other aspects.
I know.
But
I try to stay on topic, but
no. We were on topic. We let spirit guide us, and we our listeners will take a lot from this. As am I. So before we wrap up, I like to ask the guests a few questions, which is going to be 3 light questions so we can end on a high positive. So these are the 3 questions. All right. What are your favorite go-to braided style and why? Is there a book you can recommend that would be great for a starting entrepreneur? I know you mentioned earlier Failing Forward. And then are there any new projects, products, or events that you have coming up that you want to give us the tea on?
Right. So my favorite go-to braids, which I'm about to get soon, is because I'm natural now, but I haven't decided what I'm doing. Anyway, it's the knotless braids. I am a huge fan of the knotless braids, but now I'm a bigger fan of the knotless braids, the bohemian style. And so that is my love now. It's just, it gives me a vibe and I love it.
Looks like
So
Soho, boho, like
Soho,
on the
right.
Caribbean.
Right. You get it. So that's as far as book, there's another book that I want to put out there. It's called Execute, the art of getting the discipline of getting things done. So it's called Execute. I don't know the author. You can go on to Amazon.com and it's called Execute, the discipline of getting things done.
Gotcha.
My dad gave me that book when I probably was like 19 years old. And I was like, Dad, why are you giving me this book? Like, what is this book about? Like, I don't know what you're talking. Like, I'm reading Terry McMillan books, I'm not reading this. But I realized I read that book and it helped me. And it still is helping me to this day. So it's a great book. If you're looking to not only get into business, but you just want to accomplish certain things in your life,
right?
They have principles in this book that will help you get there. And so get that book. And the last question, what was the last question?
It was, are there any new products, projects, or events that you have coming up?
March 29th, boo. March 25th, not March 29th. March 25th. March 25th, I am doing my Women's History Month. In celebration of Women's History Month, I'm doing my entrepreneurship networking luncheon. I've been doing this for the last maybe 5-6 years. And I have been doing it just literally on some chillness, nothing crazy intentional, but the last 2 years I've been really intentional about doing it. I partnered with NY Beauty Suites with Joanne and with the wonderful ladies that's there. So it's been a pleasure. It's been great working with you all. And I'm excited about that. So March 25th at Brooklyn Commons, I will be there. I have a great panel discussion. We're going to be focusing on manufacturing and innovation technology for your business. So I got some boss women that's going to be be in the place. So I'm excited about that, and I'm looking forward to it. So it's going to be from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Lunch is included. And we got lunch from Footprints and cornbread. I just got to shout out a couple of things.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, I'll be there. I'll have my interns with me.
Yes, I cannot wait to meet them. And I know, thank you so much for supporting all the time. I appreciate you. You're amazing, and you're like doing big things, and I'm proud of you, like for real, for real.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been hard. It's been hard, but it's the same here. Like, thank you so much for pouring into me, and working, just being who you are. Right. So, and I guess that's it for today. So thank you so much for sharing your time, your expertise with us. All right. So how can our listeners find you and support you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, and my name is Khalilah Webster 23. That's my handle. I'm on Facebook as well, but you can also follow my company. My company is on Instagram as well, ODAEP NYC. And that stands for Open Door Arts and Education Project. I have also Vanguarde Consulting Group and MVP Accelerators. I'm telling you, I'm a woman that wears lots of hats, so you can find me. But you can also go to my website as well, KhalilahWebster.com.
Oh, there you go. And that's a wrap. And you'll find everything there pretty much. Yeah. So thank you so much again. It was a pleasure and a blessing to have you here. Everybody listening, thank you again. It is your girl, Karen Tenord, and you're sitting and listening to Khalilah Webster. Okay.
Yay.
Listen, such an amazing interview. To get more info, go to kaidetres.com/podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you got a lot from today. Be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and show back up. Okay, see you in a bit.